Could you imagine stepping onto a train in Madrid and getting off in Casablanca? That might sound like something out of a futuristic movie, but for Spain and Morocco, this could soon become reality. The two nations are planning one of the most ambitious engineering projects ever attempted, a crossing over, or more likely under, the legendary Strait of Gibraltar. If all goes as planned, this project could open by the beginning of the next decade, just in time for the 2030 FIFA World Cup. And while it might sound like a wild dream, this is more than just a transportation project. It's about physically connecting two continents that have been separated for millions of years by just a few kilometers of water. The Strait of Gibraltar lies where the Mediterranean Sea meets the Atlantic Ocean, forming a natural border between Europe and Africa. It's the only sea passage that directly connects the Atlantic to the Mediterranean and, by extension, the Suez Canal. In other words, it's one of the most strategic waterways in the world. Every year, more than 65,000 ships pass through its narrow waters, carrying oil, cargo, and passengers between continents. Whoever controls this passage holds a powerful position in global trade. Historically, Spain, Britain, France, and Morocco have all fought for dominance over it. From the 1600s onward, Spain controlled most of the traffic. For centuries, any ship that failed to fly its flag risked being fired upon by Spanish cannons. Even today, traces of those old struggles remain. On the African side, Spain still holds a small enclave called Ceuta, a relic of its colonial past. Across the water, on the European side, stands the famous Rock of Gibraltar. Despite being attached to Spain, the rock is not Spanish, it's British. It became a British overseas territory in 1713 through the Treaty of Utrecht. And ever since then, Spain has never accepted that arrangement. The small outcrop is home to the only wild monkeys in Europe, the mischievous Barbary macaques that tourists love and locals sometimes loathe. Yet behind the humor lies centuries of geopolitical tension. This tiny strip of land is one of the most contested territories on Earth. But in a strange twist of fate, it could now become the starting point for one of humanity's most ambitious connections, a bridge or tunnel linking Europe and Africa forever. So why would anyone want to build a crossing here? The simple answer is that it just makes sense. At its narrowest point, the Strait of Gibraltar is only about 14 kilometers wide, the shortest distance between the two continents. Every year, tens of thousands of ferries and cargo vessels make that crossing, carrying millions of passengers and over 13 million containers. But ships are slow, expensive, and environmentally harmful. A fixed connection, either a bridge or a tunnel, could move people and goods faster, cheaper, and with far less pollution. More importantly, it would symbolize a new era of cooperation between Europe and Africa, turning what was once a barrier into a bridge of opportunity. Naturally, the first idea was to build a bridge. After all, modern engineering has already produced record-breaking spans across seas and channels. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, for instance, stretches an incredible 55 kilometers, making Gibraltar's 14 look modest in comparison. So why not build one here? Well, because the Strait of Gibraltar is no ordinary body of water. The climate is extreme, dominated by two powerful winds, the Levante from the east and the Poniente from the west, that can reach speeds of 70 kilometers per hour. Add to that intense storms, rough currents, and frequent fog, and you have one of the most unpredictable environments in the world. Even that might be manageable. Some bridges already withstand higher winds. The real problem lies below the surface. The average depth of the strait is about 365 meters, but in places it plunges as deep as 900 meters. For comparison, the world's deepest bridge foundation, on Japan's Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, extends only 60 meters underwater. Building pillars that could reach down hundreds of meters and remain stable under massive water pressure is beyond our current engineering capability. And even if that were somehow achieved, the structure would need to be high enough for some of the world's largest ships to pass beneath it. The towers alone would have to reach close to 1 kilometer in height, taller than any building ever constructed. These obstacles haven't stopped people from dreaming, though. In 1996, a visionary engineer named Professor Tung Yen Lin proposed a 14-kilometer bridge between Port Oliveros and Point Ceres, featuring towers that would rise a staggering 910 meters into the sky. It would have been the most ambitious bridge project in history, but the plan was more inspirational than practical, a statement of what might one day be possible rather than a serious proposal. So, if the skies were too high, perhaps the answer lay below. The idea of an intercontinental tunnel first surfaced in 1930, when Spain proposed digging through the seabed. But the rock under the strait turned out to be too hard and fractured for the technology of the time. Undeterred, engineers imagined a bizarre alternative: a prefabricated concrete tunnel anchored to the seafloor with steel cables. It was creative, but impractical. Strong currents and uneven terrain would have ripped it apart. The concept was abandoned until the early 2000s, when both nations revived it with new technology and optimism. In 2008, Spain and Morocco presented a new plan for a 27-kilometer rail tunnel running between Tarifa and Tangier, reaching depths of 475 meters below the sea. The concept was inspired by the Channel Tunnel that connects Britain and France. But with a key difference: the seabed under Gibraltar is unstable and sits directly on a tectonic fault line where the African and European plates collide. The tunnel would have to cut through unpredictable layers of rock and withstand immense geological pressure. Although tunnels like Switzerland's Gotthard Base Tunnel go much deeper, those were drilled through stable mountain rock, not shifting seabeds beneath an ocean. Ultimately, the 2008 plan was shelved. The risks were too great, and the costs were too high. For years, the dream faded until football brought it back. On October 4th, 2023, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal jointly won the bid to host the 2030 FIFA World Cup. Suddenly, all eyes turned toward the Strait again. For these football-loving nations, the idea of connecting the two continents by rail before the tournament became a symbol of pride, unity, and global attention. The dream was reborn. According to preliminary studies, the tunnel could transport up to 12.8 million passengers annually. It would also revolutionize trade, making the movement of goods between Africa and Europe faster and cheaper than ever before. Financing would likely come from a mix of European and African development banks, with both continents sharing the benefits. The hope is to complete construction in time for the World Cup in June 2030. However, that timeline seems optimistic. Even the Channel Tunnel, a far simpler project, took over 6 years to build. As of now, no official start date has been announced, but the momentum is clearly growing. If successful, the tunnel would transform not just travel, but the global economy. Imagine boarding a train in Madrid in the morning and stepping off in Casablanca by lunchtime. Tourists could explore 2 continents in a single day. Businesses could ship products seamlessly from Europe into Africa's growing markets. And millions of Africans could gain new access to jobs, education, and investment opportunities. The tunnel would be more than a piece of infrastructure. It would be a symbol of progress, uniting 2 continents with a shared history and a shared future. Yet, the challenges remain immense. The Strait is one of the most geologically complex places on Earth. The African and Eurasian tectonic plates are still colliding here, moving roughly an inch every 2.5 years. Earthquakes are rare but possible, and the underwater currents are some of the strongest in the world. The construction would demand new levels of engineering precision and robotic technology to operate safely at such depths. There's also the environmental concern. How would such a tunnel impact marine life and ocean circulation? All these questions still need answers before the first drill even touches the seabed. So as Spain and Morocco prepare for the World Cup and the world's attention turns toward their shores, one can't help but wonder, could this tournament become the spark that finally turns the dream of a Europe-Africa connection into reality? Will we see the day when you can board a train in Europe and step out in Africa? Or will this remain one of those ideas that looks perfect on paper but never leaves the blueprint stage? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. This project captures something bigger than engineering. It represents the human desire to connect, to overcome separation, and to build something lasting. The Gibraltar Tunnel isn't just about trains or tunnels. It's about imagination and the belief that no distance, no matter how deep or difficult, is truly impossible to cross. What do you think? Will this mega project ever become real? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.